Hello and welcome back to the channel. Some more FM21 content coming your way. Staff responsibilities are the topic of today's video. Going to talk about one of the most important features of this game, what responsibilities you guys should be utilising for your skill level, and overall what the whole feature is about. If you guys are enjoying the FM21 content or the content in general on this channel, then why not subscribe? We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. Going to give you guys 5 seconds to subscribe here, because why not? Enjoy the video, guys. So, as I touched on in the intro there, I'm going to talk about staff responsibilities today. Now, it is quite easy to sort of get your head around, but it takes a while to learn what the best responsibilities are. It does depend on skill level. Obviously, some people want to do everything themselves. Others want to delegate a lot to others. We'll talk about each different level here and sort of what the best roles are for each level. But we're going to move on to it straight away. To find it, you go into staff and, of course, responsibilities. Now, overview just shows you everything overall. Don't really need to care about that too much. But onto boards, everything will be on the balls level. The balls will do all these roles. It's highly unlikely that you get a chance to change these. Now, onto staff. Now, onto team selection, I'll always say do it yourself. There's no reason why you wouldn't. On to under-19s. If you have an under-19s manager, then make sure it's there. If you haven't got a manager, mine recently just moved clubs, make sure it's your assistant, but obviously hire an under-19s manager when you have the chance to. B team selection will of course be a B team's manager. It does depend what league you are. Some leagues will not have B teams, some will have second teams, some will not have under-19s, some have under-23s. It does depend, but just don't select the youth team yourself. Let your other staff members do that. In terms of recruiting, director of football, I always pick myself. If I do it for somebody else, if I make it the chairman for some reason, then we'll have a director of football that won't really be needed because I'll be doing it all myself. In terms of firing technical director, I'll leave it to myself as well. In terms of first team staff, if you are sort of a new player or not really caring too much about hiring staff, we'll do a video about hiring staff soon, by the way, guys. If you want to see that, leave a comment and leave a like as well, guys. But anyway, for hiring the loan manager, I'll always leave these as myself. I will put these as myself, but I'll talk about which ones you can afford to not have yourself and who you should put it on if you don't want it by yourself. So loan manager, probably go for head of youth development. Loans are mainly to develop youngsters. You want your head of youth to be able to be in control of that. Firing head of youth, I'll always pick yourself. It's very important for youth intake to pick your head of youth there. Chief scout, you could do your director of football if you have got one. If not, maybe go for a director. In terms of coaching staff, I'll leave that to either your DOF or yourself. In terms of scouting staff, probably your chief scout if you have one, or the director of football. Make sure your director of football is in charge of how your team plays. That's the whole point of them and recruiting their players in the way your team plays. In terms of medical staff, I'll leave it to myself, but I have been tempted before to let my chairman in Premier League clubs or my director of football do it on foreign clubs. But probably I would leave it to yourself just to get used to buying staff. Like I say, guys, the video will be coming soon on what sort of attributes you need for your staff members. In terms of under-19s, I'll leave it to my DOF. I'm not too fussed about it, but hiring the manager is quite important, so I've left it to myself. Same with Dortmund too. Hiring the manager is myself, and all the coaching staff is not done by me. You want a director of football to be in charge of all how your team plays throughout all the different levels. So you want them to have the same style. You want them to have the same sort of coaches. You want them to have the same sort of tactics as well. So you want your director of football to be in charge of all that sort of stuff. In terms of coaching courses, now it's not really too important. If you're hiring the best coaches as you are, leave it as your other people. I probably wouldn't do loan manager though. I'll probably do director of football. Not sure why it's loan manager there. But if you're a lower level football team, make sure it's yourself, because otherwise you won't be able to fund the coaches. However, at a bigger club, you're hiring the best of the best anyway. It's not really important to pick which clubs do, which staff does the coaching courses. On to advice and reports. Now, I leave this as it is. I never touch it. I don't really care too much. It's just advice that comes through in your emails. It's not really going to change the game. It doesn't really actually affect what actually happens. In terms of scouting, assigning scouts, I'll actually let my DOF do it, because I look for players individually rather than in groups. If you want to scout a generic player like a left wing that's Argentinian that's 21 years old constantly, then by all means take control. But for me, I'll always know what players I want to try and find and know how to use scouting systems without getting scout reports. So I'll always do that for me. In terms of scouting meetings, it's a new feature this year. I'll let myself do it. I want to get used to how this feature works and want to utilise it to the best possible. In terms of scout feedback, you can't delegate it, but leave your chief scout on it. Scout opposition reports, put your best scout on it if you can. When you're best scout, you have to look through the attributes. In terms of own team analysis, look at your performance analyst, your best one there. And opposition analysis, make sure it's your best analyst there as well. It's important to get your best one. You don't want information to be wrong, because it can be quite important and useful if you're being in depth about the game of what your opposition are actually going to do. In terms of transfers and contracts, probably the most important, or one of the most important staff responsibilities here. Obviously, you want to sign the players yourself, so put them all as yourself for the top 3. If you want to delegate it to your director of football, you want a different challenge save or something else, then always make sure that the top 2 are not you. But the bottom one, I will always keep as myself, because you can say yes or no at the end of the save, or end of the transfer, sorry, to make sure you really want that player. If you delegate it, then you'll sign some random players and you have no choice of saying yes or no. In terms of incoming offers, exactly the same reasoning for the top one. Outgoing development loans. Now, finding loans for young players, probably go for your loan manager, actually. I would pick, it's obvious, your young players, your loan manager's there for a reason. If you don't have him selected, he's not doing a job. There's no point in hiring one, you're wasting money pretty much. In terms of signing players for the future under 19s, now, you could get your sort of chief scout, your director of football, or your head of youth to do this. However, I will, for me, do it myself. So I like bringing in my own youngsters and not picking some random players that are 50 potential. It makes no sense. But if you want to do a basic save and you're not too in-depth about the game, by all means, it's not going to harm you too much by letting your DOF take control of your under-19s. In terms of outgoings, I always keep it to myself, because some wonder kids coming and being sold for really, really cheap under your nose without realising. So I'll always keep that for myself. Dortmund too. They're kind of a bit pointless. Like I say, in different leagues, you won't have a second team. So I'm going to skip over that, but keep it the same as your under-19s if you like. And in terms of incoming offers for Dortmund 2, I'll leave it the same as well. In terms of contracts, player contracts, I'll keep to myself. Player contracts under-19s, I'll keep to myself. And Dortmund 2, I will keep to myself. If you want to get through a game a bit quicker, then delegate the under-19s and your Dortmund 2 to something a bit different like director of football. Let them do the work for you. If you want to focus on the main team, then keep it as yourself. You don't want to delegate your contracts to somebody else just because Jadon Sancho will come to you for 200 grand a week and the game could accept it. He could be happy on 150, but the game's saying 200, so it does 200. You don't need to do it. So I'd leave it to yourself for that reason alone. And off the clubs, leave it as it is pretty much. It's not really too important that you can do it on an individual case-by-case basis. In terms of media, now this is where game speed is very important. If you guys care about interactive media, which I don't really, then use what I'm using. If you care about stuff, then by all means make sure you're all taking control of all of them. New signing press conferences I'll always do myself, just because I don't want to make the player unhappy when he first joins by a wrong answer by my assistant. League press conference, don't care for it. Domestic Cup, don't care for it. Continental Cup, don't care for it. And broadcast interviews, don't care for it. I don't really think they add much to the game in terms of press conference. They look better this year, look nicer, there's more options. But really, on the grand scheme of things, press conferences don't do anything for you. In terms of training, now this is where you guys probably vary in your selection here. Now, lead general training, I will tend to have my assistant manager doing it. But as long as your assistant's good. If your assistant's rubbish, there is no point. Now, if you really care about every single individual basis, go for yourself. But if you want a quick, smooth game and not having to worry about too much and feel like the pressure's not on you constantly, then I would always recommend to delegate general training. I've played FM non-stop for the past 4 or 5 years, and I've always let my assistant do the general training, and it's always worked well. It's never really failed for me. I mean, it could be better if you do your own. I'm not too sure, but I'm not up for taking the risk, especially on the stream. Description in below, by the way, guys. I'm not really up for taking a risk, so I've left it for my assistant there. Individual training, I'll always do myself. The reason being, if I have a youngster in the first team, let me pick somebody here that's young and I can show you who. Jude Bellingham. I'll always want to pick him to what I want him in the future. For some reason, the game might train him as a right mid if you have it on your assistant. I don't want him as a right mid. I want him as an AP. So I'll make sure these individual training focuses are to what I want. Hence, I will always do it myself. If you guys want to see a training video, then by all means, leave a comment and I'll try and get one done for you guys. Now, the reason I'll show you why I do something different in a second in regards to individual training, I'll show you in a second. But lead general training for under-19s, of course, if you have an under-19 manager, I need to hire one still. Make sure he is in control of both of these. Now, Leeds individual training for under-19s, I actually delegate. The reason being, because all my under-19s are actually good, will be in my first team, and I'll move them into the first team like these guys. This 16-year-old, he's in my first team, so therefore I can do this training myself. All the others in my youth team, I don't really care about too much, so I'll let my assistant do what he feels is best for the players. Now, moving on to something else here, training again. And the B team is exactly the same for the same reasons I've said earlier. On to tactics. Now, lead tactical briefing. I feel like I'm going to sneeze in a second. So if I do sneeze, I apologise. Lead tactical briefing, I've gone for myself. This year, I'll probably delegate it though. I'm not massively a fan of tactical briefing. It's another menu I have to skip through. And I feel like I'm not utilising it enough personally to make sure that I'm doing it well. So I've left it to my assistant. If my assistant is good, he will do a good job of it, hopefully. Provides team selection advice. Don't ever listen to it, but it's going to be your assistant because he's your wingman. And provide opposition instructions. I will delegate once again because once again, I've not really taken the time in depth to utilise this system. So I've used my good assistant who's run by the computer that knows what he's doing. And I feel like it gets the best results. Like I say, for the past 4 years, I've done this and it has worked very well. So I'm not going to change it now until I learn the system. Tactics under 19s, leave it as yourself. I'm not sure why you take control of under 19 opposition instructions, considering not even at the game. It's a weird one. And the same with Dortmund, bit 2 there. And in terms of matches, touchline instructions, always going to be me. Team talks, always going to be me. I do let my assistant sometimes do it in cup matches, but always it'll be me. Leeds friendly matches for the first couple of seasons, always pick it yourself if you care about the tactics and seeing what happens. If not, there is no harm of doing your assistant. After season 2, I will change it to my assistant manager. I don't care to see the friendlies anymore because I like a quick, smooth game. If you care enough and you care too much about it, then always keep it on yourself, obviously. Backroom staff, arrange friendlies. Yes, always make sure that's enabled. You can still hire your own or get your own friendlies sorted, but just to have it basically there for you without even having to worry about getting friendlies is always good. Then if you want to, get a Real Madrid yourself if you care about that. Match day under 19s, once again, don't care about that. Friendly matches under 19s, I'm not there, do not take control of that. Match day for Dortmund 2 and friendlies for Dortmund 2 are always exactly the same, and that pretty much is the staff responsibilities tab, now down to a T for all different ability levels. If you guys want to see hiring staff, if you guys want to see some training videos as well, let me know in the comments below. I've got a lot of options for this year coming up. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content, almost at 1,000 subs, like I say, guys, and I'll catch you all next episode.